Yang Xiyu for more insights. He's a senior fellow at the China Institute of International Studies. Mr. Yang, welcome to our program. President Xi and Obama both promised to jointly fight against cyber crimes. What do you make of the level of agreement these two gentlemen has reached today? And what about the follow-up? Particularly, these could involve a lot of individuals from both countries, not necessarily the government could have control of everything. Mr. Yang.
Well, I think this agreement and the consensus made by the two presidents is not only significant to the bilateral relation and also significant strategically to the cyber world as a whole, simply because, number one, on one hand, the cyber disputes have become the most sensitive and dangerous point for the bilateral relation, and obviously the two presidents, by the consensus, diffuse this point and turning this point into a positive one towards the further cooperation between the two. And secondly, on the other hand, US and China are the largest users of the website and the largest and the most advanced developers and supporters for the cyber world. And any treaties and agreements or rules reached by the two countries will be an excellent model and the rules for the cyber world as a whole, so that there will be a more peaceful, more reliable, safer cyber world for all of the world. Especially, I take notice that the two countries commit to non-militarize the cyber world. That is the most important thing for all the sides. And that will input momentum for the bilateral relations positively.
Well, let me ask you about one of the other issues that came up at the White House today during this news conference. Both presidents coming out and making statements, and a lot of times when you have these two leaders coming together, a lot of times it sounds like they're speaking with one voice. But on the issue of the South China Sea, President Xi stood firm on this, very, very firm on this issue. South China Sea, very tough and direct rhetoric on it. What can you say about that, and how's that playing there in China, would you say?
It's a very interesting question. I noticed this phenomenon, say, the two presidents said sophisticated different wordings about this same issue. Obviously, there are sharp differences remains. However, if you read all the wordings from the two presidents, we can obviously find a common ground. Say, for the United States, Obama said they will navigate continuously that international laws allows. But for Chinese side, if U.S. navigate by international law, China will not have any objection, just like before. So the minimum common ground between the two on South China Sea is U.S. Seek for the freedom of navigation abide by the law, and China will abide by the international commitment and responsibility to guarantee the freedom of passage with the surrounding countries, say ASEAN countries. So the common ground, although that's limited, will lay a base for the two countries to control and manage the differences. For example, if China's construction on the islands, U.S. strongly oppose, does not affect the freedom of passage, that won't trigger the confrontation between the two. And by the same token, if U.S. act there by international law, there won't be confrontation between China won't impose the objections and so on. So basically, I think through the two sets of different wordings from the two presidents, I think that China-U.S. relation has been grade up to a more mature level. That means the two countries have learned how to manage and control the differences, meanwhile seeking for the cooperation.
But Mr. Yang, we all understand this very well. It's easier said than done. I mean, on the sea, there can be difficulties on the daily maintenance of the principles that the two presidents illustrated. So what about that daily operation, daily vigilance? Can the two sides have enough mechanisms to deal with that, both militarily and also politically?
Yeah, it's a really sensitive and important difference lying between the two countries. Through the summit, I understand that the two countries at the very top level have determined to implement a pragmatic way, on one hand, to control the disputes from out of control, and on the other hand, obviously, the two sides will input more efforts to enhance male-to-male contacts, because in practice, any kind of real confrontation between two countries will be triggered by military. So the military male-to-male relation is the base for this very sensitive and confrontational issue. As long as the male-to-male relation is in good shape and in the progress of increasing exchanges, the stability in that area can be guaranteed. And based on the stability, the two countries at the top level and the strategic level can control and manage the differences for a long term.
All right, Yang Xiyu from Beijing, thank you very much, sir.